Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele VanDusen and Joey Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause.
Welcome to the award-winning Live Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with the amazing Michele with 1L, Trisha's sister, Rhonda Corey's friend, Michele VanDusen. What's up, Buttercup?
Hey, what's up, Buttercup? I haven't heard that in a long time. So let's see. Buttercup, wait, that's a dandelion thing. Like if you put it underneath your chin, oh, you like butter. Remember that?
Yes. I know what I remember from dandelions. First of all, my grandfather would be like, "Don't blow." You know how the little seeds? He's like, "Don't blow on the dandelion," because then the seeds would spread, and he would have a bunch of dandelions the next year. Yeah, but my brother and I, they like with the dandelions. Did you ever do the pee joke? There was like a whole story, and you popped the head off the dandelion, and then you rubbed it down somebody's arm, and it looked like it made a yellow trail down their wrist. And it was like a story about a baby, and the baby went to town, and then the baby's head popped off, and he peed all the way home or something. It was no, you don't know that one.
Never,
okay,
no.
Okay.
I remember rubbing dandelions on each other, and because it was the whole butter thing. But pee takes it to a whole nother level.
No. What about the dandelion, the dead dandelion, or the dandelion seeds? My son and his friends would like trick each other into actually inhaling the dandelion seeds. Like they would go to blow on them or something, and the person in front of you would blow on it real fast where it would go into your mouth. Oh, my poor nephew Peyton. Oh, they were down by the creek, and my son ended up like blowing the dandelion seeds in Peyton's throat, and the child like violently sick. Like he got sick because he has that gag reflex, where like everything makes him gag, and a mouthful of dandelion seeds, and it was a bad situation.
I'm so glad now knowing this about your kids that we didn't grow up near each other. Our children stayed here.
No.
You stayed there.
My kids are trouble. My kids are trouble. Have you ever had dandelion food? Like my grandfather or my great grandfather, he could tell you like everything in the yard that you could eat, like every weed that you could eat. And I don't know if that was like growing up in the Great Depression. That's how they made a salad. I have no idea. But he could like tell you, but they would make like dandelion tea. And now people pay at these fancy tea places for dandelion tea. Have you ever had that? That just sounds disgusting to me.
No, it's actually quite good. You should try it sometime. I had it in a salad one time because I was watching the Rhonda Corey Talk is Cheap show, and they had
Rhonda Corey. Rhonda Corey of Rhonda Corey Comedy. Rhonda Colson Corey, your friend and our friend.
Yeah.
Have we mentioned her on the show?
I don't think so. I don't think we've ever mentioned her name.
Well, we should bring her up every once in a while.
Yeah,
go right ahead.
I think I agree. So, my sister Trisha did not watch this show, but I did, and Judy was talking about how to make salads, and she put a dandelion in it. It was amazing. So, just putting that out there.
Yeah. I don't want anything to do with that. I'll just stick to the black coffee. This is by the way, it's my second cup this morning. Like. I could not sleep last night at all. And I'm going to admit right now, at 1:00 in the morning, I just got out of bed and I heated up a big old thing of SpaghettiOs and meatballs. And I laid in my bed beside my husband who was snoring and in Sleepy Town. And I ate a bowl of SpaghettiOs, which might be why, I don't know, I'm not losing weight because I eat SpaghettiOs at 1:00 in the morning. And here's the deal, Pickle. Here's the deal, Pickle. Like my trainer at the gym or whatever, they're like, if you want more energy, you gotta decrease the carbs, stop with the carbs. And I'm like,
What do they know?
Dude, you have never seen me clean my house after having a bowl of Fruit Loops, a zebra cake, and 3 cosmic brownies. That's freaking energy right there. That's energy. It's crazy energy. I don't know. I don't know if I believe the protein versus carb thing. So, I mean, I do crash in about 48 seconds. Like it's like I'm going and then I'm done. I'm just
Yeah.
done.
So you clean that corner on the countertop, Zoom, and then that's it. You're out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
what I
it. Then
thought.
they find
That's
me
what
in
I
the
thought.
fetal position somewhere underneath the bar in the kitchen. They're like, "Oh, look, mom had cosmic brownies again." So,
But here's the thing: when you're rocking and crying on the floor
uh-huh.
in the fetal position, that right there, that's exercise. So
That's
you're
true.
doing
I am
okay.
burning calories.
You're
Michelle,
doing
you
okay.
always you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
such a way of bringing the positivity
yeah.
to
And if you
everything.
hold your Fitbit and just shake it, that also it counts those steps. So you're fine.
Yes.
You're fine.
Yeah.
So I got you. I'll
Well,
train you.
our
No
interview this
worries. No
morning,
worries.
not
Yeah.
super early, but because I was eating SpaghettiOs at 1:00 in the morning, I woke up and my eyes are like all puffy. And I don't have eyebrows, I have to draw them on. So I was like trying to draw them really high. So I look like I was awake this morning. Do I look awake? Do I look awake?
No, you don't. Okay.
I think I am.
I'm excited about today. This is
Yes.
exciting. This
Well,
is exciting today.
tell us who is on the show today, Michele VanDusen. I'm excited too. Let's talk about him.
Okay. All right. So, our guest today is a man of many talents. Not only is he a stand up comedian, he's a musician, a songwriter, an actor, a singer, tap dancer. He does characters and impersonations. He is the Michael Phelps of physical comedy, a beast. He's performed from coast to coast in churches and clubs and colleges, corporate events. He was on NBC's Last Comic Standing, Thou Shalt Laugh. He's got a dry bar comedy. He's currently in Branson, and he entertains on the Redneck Comedy Bus Tour. Let's welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast our friend, and now yours, the man raised by clowns, Joey I.L.O.
There he is.
Oh my
No, stop it.
goodness.
Keep clapping. Stop. No.
Yay!
No, stop. Come
Okay, one
on.
more time. Woo!
Okay, come on. Just one more time. No. We can't. We can't.
We don't have time for this.
Joey, welcome to the
What?
show. You're speaking my language. Redneck bus tour. Like my daddy's name is Hot Dog. If I hadn't mentioned that, like I was born for a redneck bus tour. What in the world is that?
Well, you talk about a stretch, right? Like, I mean, I'm going to talk to you about the way I grew up, but I had to really stretch myself. It's a character, like for me, they didn't want to hire me. Like I was like the only Yankee that they've ever hired. And
Oh wait, you're a Yankee?
Yankee
In
does
real
Michelle,
life,
take me
yes.
out. Take me out right now. Take me
in
out of
real
here.
life, you better believe it, right? But Michele can tell you how I grew up. She can tell you a little bit. She knows me and knows I was when it says raised by clowns. My father was a professional clown. My mom was a professional clown, and my dad always taught me about characters. But that was way before I ever got into stand up. So looking back over my life, I had training in clowning. People are scared of clowns, but they're really not. They're scared of the makeup. They're scared of the what kind of Hollywood has done to clowns. They've demonized them and made them scary, which is really sad when you think about it, because kids, clowning is a form of imagination, and it's a pretending and basically being vulnerable, having empathy, having childlike imagination. That's reserved for children. That's the purity of children, right? And the clowns were the entertainers for them. But then some people came along and decided to be perverted and molest and do horrible things with bad intentions, and they basically polluted what was meant for pure entertainment and fun. And I think my family, that was our recipe. We did clowning as a family. Like in the 80s, my dad belonged to a clown club, which was called LAFT, and they would allow us kids to be clowns with our parents. So at the age of 9 years old, I used to get dressed. I used to get dressed up and put the makeup on, the wig, the big shoes, and we would get in the car and go to the parade as a clown family. It would be great because we pull up next to regular families at the red light, and I was just a creepy little it clown looking out the window. For those that are scared of clowns, I'm just a little it clown, And one day we pulled up.
They're breeding. Oh,
right.
Yes.
one day we pulled up next to this regular family, and they looked over and they seen me and my brother and my mom and my dad all dressed like clowns, and they started freaking out, and they're jumping up and down, their cars going up and down and left and right. I remember I looked at my brother and I looked at them, and I looked back at my brother and I said, they are so weird.
Yes. Yes.
What a strange family. You know, we were doing clowning as a family to bring joy to other families. My dad was a police officer, and so my father actually knew Ronald McDonald, the original. He was from Milwaukee, and he was friends with him, and that guy invited him to the Ronald McDonald houses. So my dad was like a Patch Adams, but he would go in full costume and he would entertain the kids and make them laugh. And I talked to my brother yesterday about it, because I knew I was coming on here, and you know, I don't like to talk about the clowning in it because of the way people perceive it. A lot of the times, are you trying to be a clown? No, I'm not. I grew up in it. You know, this was my family story. You know, and just because there's a couple people who were scared or whatever their perceptions were, they ruined it. You know, they put a lot of clowns out of business.
Yeah.
And what's funny is clowns is the original history of comedy. It goes all the way back to the jesters. So I meet comedians that are like, I hate clowns. Dude, then you hate the history of comedy. I mean, Charlie Chaplin, there's four types of clowns. There's the white-faced clown, that was what my father was. There was a goose clown, that's what my mother was. There's a tramp or hobo clown, and that actually goes back to the Depression. The Great Depression and the boxcar hobos. So and that's what Charlie Chaplin is. He is a tramp clown, and he was really, really popular because everybody was broke when he came out. You know, everybody was poor, and so he had a vulnerability, and he was silent. He didn't even say anything, but he took his feet and he turned them like this, which is simulating clown shoes. So everything he does is what's called clowning. And then there's called a character clown, where you become a respectable position in society, but you dress up like it, and it doesn't matter if you have makeup on. You're making fun of that. And in the Great Depression, the poor people, there was a big separation between rich and poor. And so the poor would make fun of the rich because they knew they weren't rich, but they were happy and they had joy even when they had nothing. And so that's where it came out of. The art form came out of that. And so even my family, like my great grandfather, he was an immigrant. He came from Italy to New York to Chicago, and into witness protection. It's a complicated story. I don't want to get deep into it.
He zigzagged into America. Okay, got it.
So my whole family history, even my father and my they were immigrants, and they came into this country, and so they, so my father always taught me to take nothing and make it into something. Create, because create, I wrote on Facebook the other day, creating is like saving. It's easy to spend. It's hard. It's hard to save, and it's easy to take. It's hard to create. And so when you create, you need to create from your point of view, because then nobody can steal it. And so that's why my cover said "Raised by Clowns." And I took the picture because my father had us all dressed up like clowns in the 80s. And he took a family portrait. I remembered that portrait. So I took it and I put it above a fireplace. And then I sat in the chair with my dad's actual clown shoes on, because he had just passed away, and I wanted to pay tribute to him. And above my head, you can see him wearing those same shoes in the picture, and we're all dressed up like clowns. And in my hand, I have a juice box because I don't drink. And in my other hand, I have a pipe, but I don't smoke, so it's a bubble pipe. And I'm basically showing that I come from a bougie, upscale clown family. Yes. And my comedy is going to be clean because that's what I am and that's what I do. And I'm not changing it for nobody. And so, the world always tries to come along and make you feel insecure about, you shouldn't talk about that, and you shouldn't talk about this. And it happened to me when I put the Raised by Clowns DVD out. It was my first special, and I said, get my new DVD, Raised by Clowns. And this lady didn't know my story, and I was in Nashville, and she came up to me after a show, and she goes, I'm offended. that she would refer to your parents, the ones that gave you life, as just a bunch of clowns. How dare you? And then she goes, what do they do for fun? I'm like, they like to dress up like professional clowns. And she walked away. You could never be serious. You can never be serious. Of course I can't. I was raised this way.
Yes. So what I
was raised
hear
this way.
what I hear, Joey, is like literally you were.
I'm sorry, I'm singing.
You're
I
good.
was
Go ahead.
raised this way. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, what I hear you saying though is that like you literally, you know, the name of the show is Laugh Support, and you literally had a front row view of Laugh Support. My brother's in law enforcement, which is he's a police officer. It's a very difficult job. They don't get to see the best in humans a lot, right? And I can imagine that your dad in these moments where he was dressed as a clown and he went in and he saw these children and he got to bring joy to them, one had to really fuel his soul and had to be a good respite from the law enforcement position. And then, you know, you saw him supporting families of children who are going through the most difficult time in their life and got to have a moment of joy and laughter. And then your whole family supported each other in your family clown car, right?
Well,
Everybody in the makeup doing
my
the
dad
thing
was
together.
my dad was a cop, a clown, and a Christian. You know, I mean, never went to work with him. His motto must have been, "Stop running. I know you got warrants. Just come back. We're gonna have a Bible study. If you'd stop running, I was gonna make you a balloon animal. We got donuts back here." Just come back. We're going to pray for you. Then we're going to take you to prison.
Yes.
So my father used clowning as a way to escape all the crap that he had to deal with.
Yeah.
And it was an outlet. And
Yeah.
being a Christian, that's called praise. That's called praying. That's called letting go of fears and giving it to a higher power. And to me, that's what comedy is. It's letting go of trying to control. You can't control comedy. You just can't. When you try to control it, it's not funny. When you have to over explain it, it's not funny.
Right.
When you try to control, you know, you get tased. And
This is true. This is true.
and so that's what clowning is play. You know, so people get so wrapped up on, oh my gosh, the makeup. We're not talking about makeup. We're talking about playing. We're talking about imagination. We're talking about being free. That's what we're talking about. And you don't know what freedom is because you're so controlling. And so I had to tell, because I talked to Michele about this morning. My father had a mentor. He had what's called the clown father. It's like a godfather.
Yes. The clown father.
But he's the clown father, and it's really his name, which is funny because
You
come from an
may
Italian
honk
background,
my nose now.
and that's probably why my dad sought out the clown father, because you know he's an Italian.
You don't kiss the ring, you squeeze the nose. That's
okay. I'll take the jokes from here, but the
I love
point
that.
is, don't be stealing my family's premise. Okay, no,
Sorry.
I'm
So
just
sorry.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Stay
These are all
late,
jokes.
Jude.
You're fine. No. So you know, he had a clown father, and I was 9 years old. Okay, so this is not my opinion of today as an adult. I was just a kid. I really wasn't thinking about. I was just like, my dad's crazy and he likes to have fun and he's playing and we're having fun as a family, and okay, fine. But my dad wanted to take it one step further. He really enjoyed clowning. He wanted to be professional. He didn't just want to. He didn't want. See, that's another reason why people are scared of clowns, because you get these people that are hacky and they're not funny and they don't have talent, or they don't have the passion to make it funny, and they put the wig on, they put the makeup on, and then they walk around and they use the regular voice. Hi, you want a hug? You know, you're scared of creepy people. My father wasn't creepy. He was really funny. He was funnier than my mom. He was, because he just was. And then he was funnier than his clown father. And the reason why he was funnier than him was because the clown father, I remember as a kid, they used to get in disagreements. My dad wouldn't fight. He wasn't like that. He wanted to have fun. But the clown father would get really upset because because they were going to do a show, and he wanted to know what the line was, and you need to say it this way. And my dad's like, okay. And he goes, do it. Okay. and he would do the lines for the clown father just to make him happy. And then they do the show, and my dad didn't do one line. He just,
Oh,
but my dad killed it. I remember my father used to come ripping in the back, and I even have videos. I need to digitalize them because he was just
yeah.
so good. He was free, and he would just come out, and the laugh per minute that he got was just pow 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 pow. I just remember that as a kid, and I never thought his clown father was funny, because his clown father was too controlling. He didn't. So I was watching this way before I got into comedy, and I have a note I'm trying to find. Where is it? Have to be.
Well,
Where
I
is it?
have a question while you're looking
Yeah,
for
go
that
ahead.
note.
Go ahead.
Did having that the clown father and then your dad, and wasn't that kind of like watching like Laurel and Hardy? You know, where
Yeah, so
one.
my dad was a white-faced clown, and my father was a goose clown. And white-faced clowns, that was so funny about my dad. He kind of broke the rule of his character, really, because white-faced clowns are they're smart. They're smart, and he actually performed like a 4-year-old. He actually was kind of dumb. but my mother was a goose. So the white face is usually the one that sets up a goose to fail, or the goose throws the pie and the white face gets it in the face. But the white face tend to be more the straight guy, and the goose tend to be the fall guy. As with my mom and dad, my dad was the fall guy, and my mom was the person who threw. He was her helper, And but I instantly knew what my character was when I got into comedy, when I would work with other comedians. Like for me, the type of comedians I really like that I met and started having friendships with people like Tim Hawkins and Preacher Lawson. And one of the reasons why that is because my father always taught me, explore all sides of yourselves and go with your first instincts. And those types of comics do that. They go on stage. They don't sit there and try to get, they just go for it. Bam, 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 bam. And they have fun, and they go with their instincts, and they're not tied down to the rules so much. They break the rules. I mean, Tim Hawkins breaks rules. Preacher Lawson breaks rules. Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, those are rule breaking comedians. And those are the ones that I always loved. And so that's kind of it was a no-brainer for me. Like, that's what you are, that's what you're going to be, and just be that. And it was funny. I was performing at a comedy club in my home club, and I felt alone, because I was in Minnesota, and those guys are more drier. They're more intellectual, and they were getting laughs. And when I get up, I wasn't accepted with, because that was not the right venue for me in a way. I was performing too big for, I needed to adapt my style to the room, and but I was so new, I didn't know that yet. And so I tried to sit down on a stool, and I tried to be, with my hands together, which I come from an Italian family. If you tie our hands down, we don't know what to do, And so I perform like those other guys do, and the club owner comes up to me and he goes, "If you ever do that again, you're not welcome in this club." And I didn't even know what he was talking about. I'm like, do what? What did I do? He goes, "You didn't do who you are. You weren't the Joey we know. You were tied up, and you were stiff, and you weren't funny, and you weren't who you are." And there's a joke I wrote where I say, nowadays people are like, "Just be you, bro. Just be you." And I'm like, okay, don't be that you. Be the you we want you to be, but be yours. So trust me. I know what it's like, but the problem is, that's not my problem. That's their problem, because they don't know what it's like to have fun. Like, I do the Redneck Comedy Bus, and I play the redneck character. And we have, the bus wants us to hold up cards. It's our first year, so I haven't written all my own jokes yet because I'm new to this character. So I kind of, use whatever the bus wanted me to do. So we had these redneck words like Obama. That's a redneck word. And I go ahead and say it, Obama. And the bus goes, Obama bought a bag of chips and ate them Obama self. So
Mhm, mhm.
doing that Foxworthy type thing,
Yes.
right? That's what they wanted me to do. So I did that, and a lady from Florida, she's a corporate lady. She's like one of the heads of Westgate. She comes up to me and she goes, there's one thing I didn't like about your tour. And I thought she was going to say about the cards. And she did say about the cards. She goes, I didn't like the way your cards were torn and stepped on. You need to get those laminated. And I was new in my character, and I was still in my character voice. And I go, ma'am, this is the Redneck Comedy Bus. We don't laminate, we duct tape. And when I said we don't laminate, we duct tape, I wrote a song about it. We don't laminate, we duct tape. Yes, it's true. If you got a tear on your chair, we'll rip a piece off and fix it for you. I made it into a sing-along
Yes.
where the bus sings and they go, we duct tape. And then I put the mic in someone's at the end. I said, hit the high note. And they don't know what I'm doing. So they say like they're supposed to go, ooh, but they go high note.
Uh-huh.
It's funny because I don't want them to know what we're doing. We're playing. We're using our imagination. And because they're so stiff and they're not ready to have fun, they actually become a punchline because they're not going along with it and having fun with it. And that's what joking is. That's what clowning is. Preacher Lawson, I love him. He said something. He said, I watched him say something when he had his opportunity on AGT. He said 2 + 2 = 9. It's not ever the right answer. It's whatever. That's what comedy is. It's not controlled. It's not what you expect. And if you do expect it, then it's not funny. So
Right.
it's a punchline has to be something you don't expect. And so once you master the techniques of the comedy, then you have more freedom because you know what you're doing. I can't say that I'm a tap dancer. I took a class to do tap dancing. You're very sweet, Michele. But
I saw you tap. I was at your show and I saw you tap, and then you tapped. I'm sorry. You did it.
But I went to school. I decided I wanted to learn how to do that so I could have that in my toolbox. And every experience, that's what I meant by diversify your portfolio, stretch yourself. Doing the redneck, I gotta be honest, I can't stand doing it. It's not who I am, but it's a character. And so I treat it like that, and we play, we have fun. People are so worried that I'm making fun. No, there was always a policy my dad told me. He said, we don't make fun, we have fun. There's a difference. And so that's really what the difference is. When you take yourself too seriously, you just can't have fun. And, my dad always told me, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be telling them. And so, he put that on me to let me know not to take myself too seriously, where I can enjoy. And so I've been through loneliness and second guessing myself, but I remember back to the way my dad raised me, and he's like, you don't have to be filthy to be funny, you don't have to compromise who you are to get a laugh. And there's been times I have compromised myself. There has been times I've made mistakes, but I need to go back to what has worked for me and our family, and that's what I continue to do. I'm getting older in years. I want to be I heard Tim Hawkins too the other day. I just was watching videos, and he said, I want to bring joy to people. I'm not trying to do politics. I'm not trying to, and I was like, that's my family recipe. That's what my dad, he wanted to bring joy to the kids at the Ronald McDonald House in St. Jude. And, and then at the age of 21, I had the equivalency of a massive stroke, and I had to learn to walk again and talk again. I was very ill.
Wow.
And they said I would never perform again. And I didn't even start in comedy. At 11 years old, I was a rapper, and I met a African-American Pentecostal preacher in the AME. He was a professor of music, and he was looking for a rapper for his choir. And he seen me opening for a Christian rap group back in the day called ETW. I actually opened for DC Talk when they were rappers. So
wow.
I opened, and that's where I met Michael Tate. Michael Tate had cut his hand, and he told me to come with him, and he was talking to me, and then that night they let me get on stage and rap with them, and that I was like 11 years old. And then I opened for ETW, and this minister seen me and wanted me to join his choir, and he ended up, my sister was a music major at Carthage College. He was her professor, but he had a special organization through the AME, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, that would work with young Black youth. And they funded that. Well, he chose to put me in his program, and the AME they got upset, and they're like, "Why are you working with this young white kid? You know what? You should be working with our kids." And he goes, "This kid's anointed, and why don't you work with those kids too? Why don't you know?" And so he stuck up for me, and he had called me. He moved to Minnesota, and I was supposed to go with him. I was supposed to go show one of my songs that I wrote, a gospel song, because I wrote 5 songs on a gospel choir album, because he's the one who encouraged me to write gospel. Wow. And so I wrote 5 songs on the ABC Youth Choir's album, and he wanted me to go to Chicago with him. And for some reason, I felt like if I got there and they seen me, they wouldn't accept me. And so I made up an excuse why I didn't want to go with him. And he said, "Are you sure? We're going to stop by your house and pick you up." And I'm like, "No, you go." They ran into a fog, and the kid who took my place was killed, and my mentor was killed in that car accident. And I would have been sitting where that kid who took my place died. And I, you know, it killed me. It was really hard. And so I would have been doing music. I never thought in a million years I'd do comedy. And so that actually got me out of music. And then someone invited me to a comedy event, and I was wanting to have my music group. She was doing a comedy show, and she wanted me to be a comedian. I thought she wanted me to rap or do a song or do something like that. And she said, "Just do comedy." So I tried it, and I fell in love with it, the simplicity of it. And then I started pursuing the next chapter in my life. But it was my mentor who was killed that really killed it for me. And I was at his funeral, and but I've kept in touch with his family, and I'm so proud of his kids and proud of his wife, and just, you know, I had a father, but he was like a father too, because he stuck up for me even when other people didn't believe in me. And so it's so important to find people who believe in you and deposit good into you. You got to stay away from the people who will always tear you down and don't ever give you anything good, you know. And just because someone is disciplined or gives you constructive criticism, you know, hear them out but you know, and weigh the fruits of what they're saying, because I think the young generation, they have the new generation coming up, it's hard for them. They think any kind of criticism means that the person hates them, and that's not true either. And so I just thank God that I had a balanced upbringing, and that good people were put in my way. That you know, that's why the whole race thing, that doesn't even affect me. It doesn't make me second guess myself ever, because I had a mentor that taught me to love first, not look on the outside appearance, you know. So, and it was that man who told me, his name was Reverend Arthur Foy. He said, "Don't box yourself in. Don't think all you can do is one thing, because in the end, that's all you have is that one thing." He goes, learn, you know, if you're a rapper, then learn how to mix, learn how to engineer, learn how to edit, learn how to promote yourself, learn how to market yourself. It was him that put that in. And so I just ran with it and started trying, and started stepping out in faith and stretching myself in areas that I didn't think I could. Anytime I didn't think I could, I just tried. And when I tried, doors opened. So, you know, it's, you know, when you step out in faith, you know, I'm telling you, God will open doors that you never thought that could ever open. And so you don't want to force doors open. You want to try, and you'll discover, and you probably will fail. That's part of it. Yeah. Part of it. It's the answer to say, this wasn't for me, you know. Okay, good. And believe me, I've failed many, many times. And you know what it taught me? It taught me to find the person who's talented in that area and let them be a part, and that it can help me and I can help them. You know, everybody has their place. I think we look at what other people have, we become jealous of what other people have, and it's like you have a gift right inside yourself. You just have to believe in yourself, but in order to grow, you have to surround yourself with people who are positive and uplifting so that you can grow.
That seems like a theme. Michele and I have talked about this a couple of times in the last few days, about not saying you won't do you that you're not going to do something, and the only reason you're not doing it is fear. If that's the
Right.
only reason you're not doing it, then you're not doing it for the wrong reason. There's 1,000 reasons that you should say no to certain jobs and certain things, but if the only reason that's stopping you is you're just afraid, then that's the reason you should do it, is to get that fear out of the way. It sounds like you've had along your journey, you have had so many wonderful mentors and people there to support you, and great people to look towards. So now that you've been in this journey a while, have you been able to be someone that lifts somebody else or pulls somebody along, and maybe mentor them as well?
Very much so. I mean, I'm doing it right now, and I don't want to name names, because I want them to. I had somebody when I got into comedy be like, "I'm your mentor." Well,
did I ask?
It didn't go well. Let's just say that, because my mentor
Joey,
was
I had somebody look at me and say, I don't want to be your mentor. I was like, I didn't even ask.
Right.
I never said that out loud. No.
Yes. You had someone tell you they're the mentor, and I had someone go, I don't want to be your mentor. I'm like, I just said, hi, I'm June. Like,
right. And, like I said, the way my mentor came into my life it really almost was a God thing. It wasn't like I was looking for him and he was looking for me. It was so funny because he had just got married, and I was just only 13, 14. I love this man. And she intimidated me. I felt like she was, because I'm still a young kid. I felt like she's taking him away from me. So I caught the garter at his wedding, and and she tells her name. I don't want to say her name. I'd have to check with her, but I love her. But I'll just tell the story. She said, I would call the house, and the minute I heard her voice, I hung up. She said, I called 27 times, and every time I heard, because I loved him. Not that I didn't love her, it's just that he's my mentor.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And but now I've gone on to be good friends with her. She's remarried, and I love them. And so, it's one of those things where the right person will come along. It is it's even like dating, like when, people are like, how do I find someone? Go out and do what you do. And that person will come. They'll be attracted to you, and then you'll get to decide if that person's right for you or not. But when you sit around not doing or not trying or not ever going forward, you can't be upset that you don't have if you've never stepped out in faith and tried.
How do you be a good mentor, do you think? Like you said, you're kind of in that position now. What do you think is important when God puts you in that position where you get to be the mentor? What do you think is the key to being a good mentor to someone?
Passing on all the mistakes that you made and the improvements that you learned that overcame those mistakes. When you can tell somebody who wants to do what you do, and you can shield them from the mistakes and the snares that got you into trouble, that is a mentor. That's someone who is protecting you and doesn't want any money from you, doesn't want any time for you. They want you to grow up. They believe in you. And they believe in your talent and your ability. They see something in you, but then they share things with you that are going to protect you, not harm you. And to that person, it's hard sometimes if you don't trust the person speaking it. So that's why I say it's important that you both are on the same page. That's why when the person said to me when I got into comedy, I'm your mentor, I looked at the fruits of this person and realized he was more concerned about his name than he was mentoring me. It was kind of like, be good, just don't be better than me. And mentorship is not a competition. Okay. Mentorship is a love and a give and to push the person forward so that they can go and do great things. It's an investment in the future of all of us, so that people can go and accomplish. And mentorship is not I get a percentage of that when you do well. There's none of that. It's just, I want good things for you, and I'm so glad. And like I said, you're not gonna find 2,700 mentors. You're gonna find that one. It's always going to be few. You might even have 2 or 3, and but it's kind of like the narrow road scenario. Where not everybody's gonna, you have to you have to follow. You know what I'm trying to say. You have to. Yeah, I have to check myself too, because I am in comedy. So sometimes I have to check myself if I'm getting jealous of another comedian, or I have to go, no, wait, I have to be a better example than that. It's the same thing with content in comedy too. Like we chose to be clean. So, you know, not everything nowadays, people's ideas of clean ain't even clean anymore. You know, so you have to really push to check yourself. And so that's what I mean. That's what a true mentor is the agenda. There's no agenda, but that you want to see that person go forward and do great things, you know, that you want to bless people. Just like when you want to bring joy to someone, you can't control their joy. You just want to bless them, you know. Sorry.
Now I heard you say, yeah.
I want to just touch you guys. I love you. I want to be a bless. I'm a hands-on guy.
This is the picture from this episode. Everybody, hands up.
It's like when Joe Biden, you just got to keep stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Domestic violence.
Yes.
Anyway.
I went ahead and put up the Cash App $ Joey I.L.O, just because you were just talking about not having any, you don't want any money. Well, in case you want to give money, it's right there. So I just thought
I want to encourage our listeners. Yeah, encourage our listeners
keep running that
to give to the Cash App of $ Joey I.L.O, because we would love to see if anyone can make money off this podcast. So even if you just send $1, then we know somebody's out there. They're listening. They love you, Joey.
Tip your wait staff. Oh,
you know that happened to me the other day. I was with my son, and sitting next to me was this guy, and he was like kind of like acting like he was mentoring this employee, and he's a big business guy, and he was talking about, and I need you to step up, and we're gonna make this much money this year, and boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden, the waitress who had been working so hard clearing the plates, they got up and left and didn't leave a tip. And she came to the table because she probably, and I thought, well, maybe they left the tip on the credit card, or, maybe it's just, I don't see it. Just because the cash ain't on the table doesn't mean they didn't leave one. And I remember her coming up to the table going, "Come back again." That's the only way I knew they didn't tip. And then it happened again behind me. She came up, and those people didn't tip, and she goes, "Can't wait for you to come back." And I was so moved by, I was moved that they're working so hard. So I went out and got money and tipped both those tables. Now, I didn't want her to see me do that, but she caught me doing it. And but it made me feel good because I'm blessed, and so when she caught me doing it, I felt bad that she caught me. I want to do it when nobody sees me doing it. I don't need to do it. I don't want to do it just because everybody sees me doing it. But I do want to notice people who are working so hard and they're getting discouraged. And that's what I meant by mentorship, just encouraging and lifting up, because I even had a friend who I'm not gonna say his name, but he just recently, I seen a post on Facebook, and he tried out for The Voice, and he got cut with no answer, and his post was, "I'm a failure." No, you're not. That opportunity might not be for you. You gotta protect your product. You're the product. What you put into yourself is what people will, you know what I'm saying? You have to protect who you are and which way you want to go. And so
I think as Christians, we have a way of posting the hallelujah. God, God gave me this financial opportunity. God gave me this big show. God gave me, he gives. But nobody's posting like, hallelujah, the door shut in my face. And I praise God for that, because I know he opens and shuts the doors, and he can close them that no man can open. He can open, no man can close. And I think sometimes as Christians, we need to share a little bit more of the thank you, God, for saying no. I don't know why you said no. I really wanted a yes, but I love you and I trust you in the no's as well.
Yeah, we're always fighting a battle to be positive, to not let negativity seep into our lives. I fight it every day. I fight it all the time, and that's the fight. We're not fighting against flesh and blood. We're not fighting against people, And so when you've made a commitment, and that was the whole reason why I had signed up for the CCA, because they had a statement that said, you're going to adhere to this level. And I looked at it like raising the bar. That's what my mentor taught me. He goes, do excellent every time you do something, be excellent, and so for me, raising the bar was my energy, but it became harder as I got older because my health started to fail, so it was hard to be energetic. But I remember like my grandfather, I remember some of the elders back in the day where they had nothing, but they were able to make you laugh just by doing that. And so again, it goes back to like the tramp clown. Charlie Chaplin didn't have makeup. He'd take those forks and put shoes on them. And there wasn't a lot of motion. It was just this. And he made tons of people smile by from nothing, so when you feel like I have nothing, no, you're blessed. You have everything. You have air in your lungs, you have life, you have opportunity. You have to see it in a different way. You have to look at things differently, find the humor. So that's what I try to do with comedy, like those greats did in the past, is find the humor out of nothing, and go with it.
I think it's Charlie Chaplin. I may be wrong, but either way, it's a great quote. I'm thinking it's Charlie Chaplin that said, "Let my pain be the reason for somebody's laughter, but never let my laughter be the reason for somebody's pain."
Right.
And that's one of my favorite quotes because he looked for those things and allowed the pain and the reality of life and what he's going through be the reason that somebody didn't feel alone and they got to laugh despite what a difficult journey it can be just to be on planet Earth, right?
Right. So I was one of the youngest patients in the stroke unit, and I was paralyzed. So I have a rare muscle disease called familial periodic paralysis, and I would become paralyzed periodically. And so in my recovery, every time I tried to exercise, I would collapse because I have genetic damage inside my muscles. My
Like a
muscles
fainting
don't
goat,
function.
like that kind of a thing. Like how goats, they're fine and they just fall over like that.
Very much so, yeah. And
Wow.
it's called familial periodic paralysis. You become paralyzed periodically. And I remember this really happened. I remember I was at Mayo Clinic and I met the doctor who wrote the book on my disease. And I said, "So what is the disease?" And he goes, "You become paralyzed periodically." And this was years ago. And I wasn't trying to be funny. I just naturally was looking for hope. And I said, "So what you're saying is I'm like a paraplegic with privileges?" And there was silence in the room. And then all of a sudden,
Which is better than a fainting goat, I guess.
and then all of a sudden the doctor went and snot came out of his nose. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to make snot come out of the person who's telling me that I'll never perform again. I'll never do this again. And that's where it started for me. That's where comedy started, was making snot come out of it. And it goes back to what I was saying about the tramp clown, making fun of the establishment, and that's what I think is so funny about the politics of the day. I'm not a political person, but they don't understand that. They think they're shutting comedy down. You're actually making us stronger because we need to teach the comics coming up that you keep making fun. You're not making fun of them. You're making fun of things that are causing you not to be free. And you got to be free, and that's where you got to find your freedom. And that's why our art form is so beautiful.
Well, when you talked at the very beginning, you were talking about like the 4 different types of clowning, and talking about the character clown, and that really seems to me like in this traditional form of stand up, that the character clown is actually what would be considered your act out. But a character clown takes it all the way, whereas on a stand-up bit, you're just doing it for one small section. But then you also took that same skill set and used it when you do your redneck tour bus thing. So I love I was just gonna say, I love the fact that you can take this skill and you can add it here. You can add it here. You can use it everywhere, and it also sounds a lot like improv. Where
it is.
you're like,
the
yes,
Redneck Comedy Bus, they've been a company for 18 years, and they're based out of Nashville. And Nashville is more of a party town.
Yes.
And so, the redneck thing, they let you bring coolers on and drinking and all of those things. And so they hire comedians, and those comedians are a little bit more edgier, because they, that's what the market is. But I moved here because I wanted to raise my family. I was told when I got into comedy, you'll never have a family in this business.
Mm.
And they were right if I were to stay in certain markets that don't protect families. So I moved myself here so that I could travel and still work in big cities, but also let my family grow in a safer place. Well, the Redneck Comedy Bus started expanding because they've been a company for 18 years. So they went to Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge, and those comics learned right away that was more Bible Beltish, and you can't just be dirty. And so then we're the third market. We just opened our first season, and basically I recommended Paul May, and my other friend, it was Andy Parks who recommended me, and there was another comedian. So there was the four of us. Well, Andy quit and the other comedian quit, but Paul stayed on, and I had already traveled with Paul right before the pandemic ended. And I just said, we're going to do this thing together, man. We're going to run this. And we just became the #1 tour on TripAdvisor. We got over 100 reviews, all excellent, not one negative. And I'm afraid to say that because now you're gonna get a hater come on. I didn't think it was fun. You always got that person. You always got them trolls. But
Go back to Texas, #1.
But a lot of hard work, and it was at a time where I was in Canada performing in front of 1,500 people. And my agency was in Canada, and I got kicked out of Canada, and I lost all my jobs. I wasn't traveling, and they called me up and was like, "Hey, you want to be a redneck?" And I was like, "No." and they brought me to Nashville, and it was there was a couple people that maybe not believed in me, but there was one or two guys that really believed in me, and they give me the opportunity, and now they believe in us so much that they've given us the freedom to keep running it the way we do what we do. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to be consistent. You have to be hardworking. The work ethic is so important. And sometimes work ethic can make up for talent. And it really can. It's kind of funny. I was in Colorado and I was performing at the Broadmoor, and they had just passed the law about marijuana being legal or illegal. And I remember the head of security, I had performed the show, and then I sat in I wanted to hear, I like to be around corporate people because I'm so not corporate. I want to hear how they talk, and I want to hear how boring they are. I want to study them because I'll never become them. No, I'm just kidding. I like to be around. I need input. And the guy goes, we can't hire anybody because nobody can pass the drug test. They changed the law, but they didn't change the test. So everybody's failing the drug test because they're smoking weed, and we can't hire anybody. And I thought, I have young kids, and I'm thinking, and I remember coming home and I'm like, don't ever do drugs. You'll have a job for life.
Yes. Yeah.
You'll have job security for life because you'll be able to because the masses is going out and doing whatever they want to do. And it was my mentors that told me, don't go where everybody goes.
Yeah.
Find what makes you special and harness that. And nobody, they can steal what you do, but they, that's why it's funny. There was a commercial that came out right when my Raised by Clowns cover came out. It was being printed in Minneapolis at a place called Copycats, believe it or not. So my it's called Copycats, and there was a college student that worked there, but he also went to college across the street at this college called Dunwoody Institution. And all of a sudden a commercial comes out, and one of my fans called me and said they copied your cover. And they were even doing my own jokes. And there's a mom and a dad, and they're sitting at a table, and they look, and you can see their hands, but you can't see their body, you can't see their faces. And the kid goes, "Mom, Dad, I decided to go to clown college." Or I decided to go to Dunwoody. And that's when they view out, and they're clowns. His parents are clowns, and they're like, "You're not going to go to clown college? How dare you?" And but what was funny was that was my original cover. My parents are clowns in the kitchen, and I'm standing in front of them like this. So the kid took my idea and made a commercial out of it. And so I called the thing and asked, "How did you guys come up with this idea?" And they said, "Well, this kid gave us the idea, and he works at Copycats."
Of course he did.
And I thought that was so funny. Like he literally took my idea and made a commercial out of it with my story. So no matter how I personalized it, someone still took it, but that's
Right.
okay. They can take it all they want, but they'll never take away the experience of growing up.
Yeah.
So I just recently came back from vacation with my family. And we went up to Minnesota, where I lived for 13 years. Then I did a show in Siren, Wisconsin, and we started to make our way to Racine in Chicago, Milwaukee, where I grew up. And we get to Baraboo, Wisconsin, and we go to the Circus World Museum there. And my brother told me that my mom and dad were in the museum, but I didn't know where. And we did the whole tour. It's an awesome museum because the circus isn't really no more. Well, the circus exists, but Barnum and Bailey, or whatever the name of that one
Barnum
is.
and Bailey.
Yeah, they're not touring like they were. So the only way to see them is to go to their museum. So we're there with our kids and we're walking through, and we get to the end of the tour and we go to the clown room, and I look up and there's a picture of my mom and dad sitting on a circus wagon, because my dad was invited to the circus parade every year. And I thought that was so cool that it wasn't just my dad, it was my mom and my dad together. And it's just,
So cool.
I try to keep his memory alive, and I try so my kids know, and my kids will tell you, they're like, Daddy, they're making clowns be demonic and scary. And, I'm supposed to be scared, but Grandpa wasn't like that. And so, people are going to do what they want to do who you are, because you're going to get haters. You're going to get people that are like, oh, you're a hacker. You're not, whatever, bro. I'm not trying to meet your standard anymore. Really, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to find your market. And I'm telling you, when people feel realness, they'll catch on and they'll go with you,
I tell you, in our town, one of the most famous people when I moved to Bowling Green, Kentucky, one of the most famous people in this town, like that the kids would tell me about immediately when I moved here, was Broadway the Clown. This guy named Broadway the Clown. And if you got to see Broadway the Clown, man, you saw a celebrity. And I'm telling you, that cat ended up being one of the richest people in our town. Clowning. He took his money and he invested it, and he's one of the most popular people. Now there's a mural of Broadway the Clown in this town, and that was one of the first people that I learned about when I moved to Bowling Green. Not the mayor, not the police chief, not anybody who went on to be an actor, whatever. Broadway the Clown. That was
well, my
the guy.
dad's clown name was Rainbow, and my mom's clown name was Cloudy, and together they were Rainbow and Friends. And we all had weather names. Like I was Lightning, and my brother was Hail. And hey, Hail, get in here! What the hell are you doing?
Yes.
Sorry, that's a joke. And
well, hey, speaking of your family, because we don't want to end this without talking about your immediate family. You brought up your wife and your kids.
I know I'm going to, but
go ahead.
So my dad is old school Italian, and he's got these business cards, and we start getting calls to the house, and we get a call, and I'm 9 years old, and I can't hear what the guy says. I found out later. He goes, "It's Rainbow and his friends there. Can they come to our party?" Times were changing, and my dad doesn't realize it. And my dad gets so upset, he slams the phone down. He goes, "It's not that kind of party." And he hangs up the phone, and he's like, what are all these gay people calling the house for? I'm like, Dad, your name is Rainbow. We were like having an argument. We were like argumentative back and forth. He goes, "What's wrong with that?" I'm like, "It's their flag, Dad." He goes, "What'd you just call me?" "It's their flag. It's their national anthem." All right. And my dad goes, "They own the rainbows now? They own the rainbows now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they kind of do. But, so times are changing, and you do have to find a way to go with it. And again, I don't attack any one group.
No.
I'm not trying to make fun, but you got to find the humor in the conflict. And I love that story. And I've been told, you can't tell that on stage. I'm like, because you don't. Well, then you're ridiculous, because you just are misunderstanding pure intentions, and that's what I'll continue to do. I like that lady that was like, how dare you, your parents are clowns. They are. So the truth is the truth, and you can Google me and search my history, and I always tell people I'll keep doing what I've always been doing, and you can call me a hack all you want to, but I ain't ever changed the recipe. So
My favorite part in that story was, you called me what?
Yes.
Flag. I said
it's a flag.
flag.
Well, when Italians get mad, they ask questions like, "Hey, what's the matter with you?" So.
I know June was about to say something, but I would just pop this in real fast. Maybe or maybe not. Part of the whole character thing, and you talked about, stretching yourself and wanting to do, get out of your, don't stay in box, don't box yourself in kind of a thing. So that's why you did the redneck tour. Also, then
well, it's
don't
my
you
day
have
job. It's my day
that's
job.
your day.
It's the whole reason why I moved to Branson, which was crazy because I tried to have my own show, and I did have my own show in theaters, but theaters, we just weren't selling tickets because the tourists stopped coming. And so, when I moved here, I said, you're never going to find a job in comedy on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. And that's the shows they have in Branson. They have shows at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So that's my schedule. My schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 and 1. And then I have the night off and I go out on the road. And so I was wanting to find how I could always have a job doing what I get to do. And so the redneck thing is it lets me play and it lets me develop material and characters and that. So it's like an open mic.
So using those skills and using that, then didn't you also just recently take a job as an actor in a film?
Yeah, that kind of fell in my lap. That was Leland, man. I love Leland. Leland Colson he's another person. I would call him a mentor because he never called me his mentor or anything, but he really invested in comics to give them opportunities. And I went to Canada. I was on his comedy tournament, and he was supposed to be in this movie. This was his movie, and then he got kicked out of the country, or he wasn't allowed to back in because of COVID. And he recommended me for the position. And then the church that I was going to, they knew my pastor, and he recommended me. And so I play a Southern pastor. So here I was already developing the Southern character. And then so I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. So I play a Southern, I had to work on my accent as a preacher, and he said on the Paul, he said, and I remember the Pentecostal preachers with that, with that dialect. And so I started working on it. So this is my first serious role ever in a movie.
Nice.
And that's running the bases, right?
Yes. And what was crazy about that was I've been in movies before, but they don't have funding. So it's kind of like you're in a movie and you're like, okay, great. We're going through but then it has to go to a film festival. What was so cool about this opportunity, it had already been through film festivals. It already had funding. And so the minute we did it last year, and now it's in theaters. It's going to be in AMC theaters September 16th. So yeah. So
what's ironic is Michele and I actually interviewed Leland at the time that this was all kind of going on, and him not being able to be a part of the film and all of that. And now we're interviewing you and finding out that in that time that he was having such a struggle, he didn't, he didn't lay back and just say, forget about it. He started looking for people that he could bless with the opportunity that
I love him for that. And not because of the opportunity, because he never stopped investing into people. And I love his heart. I love what he's about.
He's amazing.
What a fantastic what a fantastic mentor. I tell you, I got to see him just a while back when he was here in Nashville, and they did a fundraiser for Bone Hampton. And the thing that stood out to me about Leland was that it was a big stage. There was a lot of people there, and gospel artists came in, and it was just a kind of a big deal. And literally, he just came to the back with me and Christy Condor and a few other people in the back of the theater. And I watched him help people find seats
Yeah.
and just talk to people,
Yeah.
you know, where most of the artists, they did their thing, they left out the back door, you know, and they had a, you know, whatever. And he literally wanted to be in the back. He wanted to watch all the other artists do their thing. And on top of that, he was seating people. He was like,
Right.
because he's so big, he can see
Right.
over all
Right.
the, and he was like, oh, there's one, row 4, 5 seats over. You know, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, we come this way. We got 3 over here.
Pretty fantastic. Pretty
Well,
fantastic.
and
So running the bases, Joey
he
I.L.O
does-
is in it. So
he
watch
does
for
a
that
form
guy.
of clowning because his hands are so awkward to his body, and you know,
does it.
and he has fun with it. He
Mm-hmm.
plays. He plays, you know, he plays, and that's awesome. It was the first thing I noticed when I met him. I was like, this guy's got the spirit of the way I would, you know, grow up. So that was easy for me to trust certain comics because I could relate to them, you know, like, oh, this guy gets it, you know. So it's pretty cool. And when I met Andy Beningo, he said the same thing to me on tour. He's like, you know, you like to play. I haven't met a lot of people that like to play. And so we're just a bunch of big kids, you know, just, you know, I watch my son, you know, he was in preschool. He's now going into kindergarten, and, you know, kids are so, we were just at a party and they walk up to each other. They don't say anything. They just go like this, like puppies. And next thing you know, they're running around the room. And that simplicity to play and use their imagination and have fun, you know. But I did notice some kids would be like, you know, clicky and ruin the fun and made my son cry or made this other kid cry. And so that's kind of what we're up against. And you just have to find likeness, find people who, you know, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And
Yes.
when you can do that, you can grow and you can find what works for you.
Yeah, when you're celebrated, that means there's a lot of cake, and that means a lot of growth.
That's right. Yeah. Where's the cake?
I celebrate all the time, baby. Oh.
That's right. Well, I'm sorry, June. Did you have anything else? I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted.
No,
to
you're good. No, I just wanted to, because you mentioned your family a few times, and I, you know, your kids and your wife and that kind of thing. And I know that life support, it's really important to, you know, to have your family on board with what you're doing, because this is a crazy journey, and there's lots of highs and lots of lows, and I, you know, I wondered if you could speak to that as far as just keeping the family strong and
it's a challenge every day to make everybody happy. You know, we kind of went through it last night, but that's a whole nother thing. You know, when I came here, it was just me, my wife, and my baby girl, and we miscarried twins. And we lost twins, and they said we'd never have another kid, and that's why our son is such a miracle in itself. And we went there, but then we started. Then my mom came. She moves right next to me, but you know, when they came here, they didn't have jobs there, they didn't have churches there, they didn't have what they were used to, and so it was a struggle. But I didn't look at it as annoying. I looked at it as an investment, and to get them planted so that they can find what they're good at, if this is where they're meant to be. But we never forced them to come here. We the opportunities just started coming for them to come here. And it was just me, my wife, and my daughter. Now it's me, my wife, my daughter, my son, my mom, my brother, who moved in with my mom. And then he met a girl at my show and they got married. Now she's my sister-in-law. And then you got, we brought my mother and father-in-law here from Ecuador, and they lived with me for 2 years. And then that was really difficult because they don't speak English, and they were taking things the wrong way because I was wanting them to get their own place, because in American culture, that's what we do.
Yes.
But it's also not because we're annoyed by them or anything. We love them. We just want them to have their own space and their own freedom. And we had to have a counseling session, and they would come and they would translate. He doesn't want us in the house, and we thought it was us. We didn't know that you know. And when we were, no, we want you to have that. And I watched my father-in-law. He bought his own land. He's got his own trailer. He built his own deck, his own carport. And I'm just so happy to see, you know, them have their own thing. They're in New Jersey right now, you know, and traveling and you know, and so we all work together. We all help each other, you know, and if my mom needs to go out of town, then we, you know, but it's a juggling act with all our schedules. But we went from the 3 of us to all of us now. And so the family's just growing, and my kids are 5 and 11. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, the 5 and 11. My son, my oldest just moved out and my youngest is about to enlist in the military. And like 5 and 11 are the magic times for Christmas and holidays and all of that. So you are definitely in the heart of some of the most challenging but the most fun
Yeah.
times as a parent to
Yeah.
talk about imagination, 5 and 11.
Yeah, I just know I'm so super blessed because I was at a restaurant the other day and we get a lot of tourists and there was this mother and she had her son hogtied and he was like, I hate you. And she's like, we'll talk about it in the bathroom. And she goes, as she gets about almost past me, she goes, feeling is mutual. And I was like, that's where you count. I felt horrible. I mean, I had to pray for her and what they're going through, but at the same time, I was like, man, I'm just so glad I haven't had to hog tie him and I haven't heard I hate you yet. I better not hear that. But you know what I'm saying? It could come. But my point is, we've been blessed so far, so we're just continue to try to be positive and get our kids around good things and get them to grow. So
We'd
yeah.
love to hog tie you and keep you for another hour, Joey. But
feed you dandelions.
I can't stand this show.
But friends, we definitely want you to check out Joey I.L.O. You can find him at Joey I.L.O comedy.com. And Joey is also on, everything, y'all. YouTube and Twitter, Joey I.L.O. It's Joey I.L.O. on Instagram.
You forgot Cash App.
Joey I.L.O. on Facebook and TikTok. All right. And the Cash App, one more time.
There it is.
Show Joey some love. Show Joey some love. Cash App, it's the $ Joey, capital J, Oeyilo on Cash App. So definitely check it out. Guys, if you'd like to watch this episode of the Laugh Support Podcast, you can find us on YouTube, on the Creative Motion Network, on Roku TV, and on Vimeo. And of course, you can listen to the Laugh Support Podcast pretty much anywhere, any major podcast platforms like Audible, Spotify, Player FM, and others. Joey, we love you so much. Thank you for being with us today. Michelle's going to scoot you back to the green room. Don't leave us because we want to give you a proper thank you. And
yes,
Michele, go ahead.
But before I send you back there, Joey, if you happen to know anybody in Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, North Dakota, Alaska, have them listen to the podcast because I want to finish filling out the map of where all our listeners are. Oh, and there's some of the New England states like Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, the fancy states.
Yes.
So I want to finish filling out my map of where our listeners are. They're everywhere across the world. I'm just saying, they're amazing. Okay, now I'm kicking you back. Call your people.
Michele VanDusen. Oh my gosh. So, I take notes. I write while we're listening. And today was filled with so much fun, but so much knowledge and so much just great tips, not just for comedy, but life in general. Man, what a wealth of information and an amazing guest that we've had today. It's been good.
Joey's my mentor. He doesn't know it yet, but he's my mentor now.
Yeah. Well, Joey, I just said hello to him and he said, I'm not your mentor, June. I'm not going to be your mentor. No,
I knew it was him. Joey. I knew it.
It wasn't Joey.
He doesn't mentor people that are taller than him. That's all.
Is that right? Yeah. This is why I'm having a hard time finding a mentor. Well, y'all, that's going to be it for this episode of the Laugh Support Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, I end with Jesus and Junebug loves you. Michele, tell him goodbye, my friend.
Goodbye, my friend.